Hey everybody, Dan Hilton here for some over-unders for week 1 of the AUDL season. It's New York versus DC. It's Empire versus Breeze. It doesn't get much better as far as rivalries go in this league. Yeah, it's not Boston against New York, and it doesn't have that same Empire versus Rush history. But DC versus New York very well could decide the division this season. And quite recently, it does have some division winners, some AUDL MVPs, some buzzer beaters in recent matchups, as well as some all-stars. So with so many star players, it was pretty challenging to decide who deserved to be selected for this over-unders, so I did rely heavily on some of the biggest names in this matchup. And speaking of big men, let's start with Jeff Babbitt and our blocks line. I set this line at 1.5, and believe it or not, and I know Jeff is going to have a word with me, I'm saying this line on the under. The big man averages just about a block per game, and against DC's handler-oriented offense, he just may not have the opportunities to get more than one in this contest. We know that Jeff is more than willing to contain the space instead of needing to dominate one particular matchup. Winning is more important than individual stats for him. Yet, in his last 8 matchups against the Breeze, dating back to 2018, he's only had 2 games without registering at least 1 block. And while it feels like an outlier coming from his insane 41 block season in 2018, the 6 blocks he had in their 3rd matchup that year is not something we should gloss over. Plus, I know that Jeff is always listening, so take the under at your own peril. Don't forget, our home opener against the Philadelphia Phoenix is May 7th at 7 p.m. at Joseph F. Facina Field. Season and single game tickets are on sale now. Head to shopempireultimate.com to grab your early bird tickets now. Opposite Babit is former MVP Rowan McDonnell, and his completion over-under was a bit more difficult to predict. We've set the line at 42, which is just under his 44.5 completions in 2021. And I think it's fair to take the over, if just by 1 or 2. And looking at the last 5 matchups between New York and DC spanning from 2019 and 2021, the Empire either contain Rowan or they don't. The opener last season, where Rowan had just 29 completions, feels a bit low, and the combination of Rowan purposefully delegating the offensive load plus some terrific defense by Josue Aloro explain it. 1 month later, and Rowan had 55 completions at home in a statement win. In 2019, the totals were 19, 46, and 42. So now you start to understand how this gets tricky. Losing Joe Merrill, who's headed to Salt Lake, on the O-line does complicate things a bit, but then again, all those star reinforcements that DC have picked up, Christian Boxley, Tyler Monroe, Alan Kolick, Delrico Johnson, and a few others, I'm kind of assuming that they're going to take touches away from Rowan, but in the same respect, I think at least in week 1, Rowan is still going to dictate this offense. And last but not least, speaking of MVPs, it's Ben Jagt with goals, and this line is set at 2.5. In the 8 previous matchups, the totals are 1, 2, 2, 8, 3, 3, 2, and 5. I don't think that tells us much of anything, other than that if the Empire can take control of this game, it's because Yacht is in the end zone against the Breeze. I don't need to tell you that the 2-time reigning MVP is hungry to become the first 3-time MVP in history, separating himself from Goose Hilton and Bo Kittredge, though it is unwise to say that Goose couldn't win a 3rd if he put his mind to it. But a big showing in week 1 for Yacht against a star-studded DC, especially led by AJ Merriman, the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, well, that could go a long way in kickstarting that 2022 MVP chatter for Ben Jagt. So again, it's under 1.5 blocks for Babit, over 42 completions for Rowan McDonnell, and over 2.5 goals for Ben Jagt. If you've got an opinion, and most AUDL fans do, hit us up on Twitter or Instagram with your picks, but most importantly, enjoy the game.